Hello dear students. Today we are going to study chapter number 4 of your book Hornbill, that is Landscape of the Soul, written by Nathalie Troberoy. We will be doing this chapter in two parts, and today in this video I'll be dealing with part 1 of the chapter. Let's begin. Let's read about the author first. Nathalie Troberoy was born on 2nd of February 1975. She is the wife of Guy Troberoy, who is an ex-Belgian ambassador to India. She is an art historian and she holds a master's degree in history of art and archaeology from University of Belgium. She is known for her translated work City of Dins, a book written by William Dalrymple. She now plans to write her next book on old Delhi architecture like Jama Masjid and Chandni Chowk. Before we read the chapter, it is important to discuss the learning outcomes. So after reading the chapter, you should be able to tell the key facts of the chapter. You should be able to tell the meanings of typical words related to art used by the author in the chapter. Then you will be able to explain all the key concepts of the chapter like Taoism, Shan Shui, Art Brut in your own language. You will be able to distinguish between Chinese paintings and Western paintings. That is one of the main themes of the chapter. You will be able to develop an appreciation for the work of outsider artists. That is another concept that has been touched upon by the author in the chapter. The author has taken the first part of the chapter from the landscape of the soul, ethics and spirituality in Chinese painting, whereas the second part of the chapter has been derived from the article Getting Inside Outsider Art. Getting Inside Outsider Art written by Brinda Suri is an article that was published in the Hindustan Times in 2005. Dear students, this chapter basically deals with a comparative study of European and Chinese paintings, Western and Chinese paintings. It touches upon the various fine details of reality and art. Art has been abstract in nature as it can't be defined. It has to be felt or experienced only. That is why it is abstract. A common man like us views art only on its visual aspect. But only the painter, only the artist can show the way to its soul. So basically, students, the theme of the chapter revolves around art and reality, revolves around art and paintings. Important areas of the chapter with which we will be dealing. The first part is tales related to Chinese and European paintings. Second part is how one of the philosophical doctrines, philosophical ideas of Taoism called Shan Shui is reflected in Chinese paintings. Then the concept of Taoism itself, and finally the concept of Art Brut. So in this first part, we'll be dealing with the first two areas, the various stories related to Chinese and European paintings and the concept of Shan Shui. So the chapter begins with a Chinese tale about a painter, a famous painter actually, Wu Daozi. This is the first story which is representative of Chinese paintings. So the painter lived in 8th century. In that century there was an emperor named Xuanzong. He commissioned Wu Daozi to decorate a palace wall. And after decorating the wall, Wu Daozi hid the painting behind a screen so that only the emperor could see it. So when the emperor saw the painting, he appreciated the painting on the surface level, like looking at the forests, the high mountains, waterfalls, clouds, and men on hilly paths, birds in flights, etc. in the painting. So he appreciated the painting on the surface level, at the physical level. Then Wu Daozi told the emperor that a spirit resided in the painting. He drew the emperor's attention to a cave in the painting. He clapped his hands and the entrance of the cave opened. The painter himself entered the cave and told the emperor that the inside of the cave was splendid, was grand, and showed him the way. The painter showed the emperor the way, but before emperor could move, the gate of the cave closed, the entrance closed, and the painting was disappeared. The painter was also disappeared, and he was never seen in the world again. This was considered as his last painting. So such kind of stories were an important part in China's classical education, in Chinese art and paintings. Confucius and Zhuangzi, they were the well-known Chinese philosophers. They wrote books about such stories. And these stories helped the masters of art to guide their disciples in the right direction. So these stories deeply reveal the spirit, the soul in which art was considered, in which Chinese art was considered. How the emperor looked at the painting and the way the painter wanted the emperor to look at the painting. There was a lot of difference between them, which we'll be exploring further. Then comes the second story in the chapter, which is a representative of Western paintings. So there was a famous painter from Flanders. Flanders is a region in Belgium. So who believed in mysteries and spiritual magic of art. So he had painted a spectacular dragon. He had painted an attractive dragon. But he refused to draw the eye of the dragon. Why? Because he was scared that it would fly out of the painting. Such was the strength of the art that he was terrified. He was terrified at the dragon coming to life, at his art coming to life. Then finally comes the third story, which is again a representative of Western art. Western art deals with basically delicate realism. Delicate realism is something closely similar. Realism. The story of Quentin Metzys. There was a master blacksmith named Quentin Metzys who lived in 15th century in Antwerp. Antwerp is again a city of northern Belgium. So Quentin Metzys fell in love with a painter's daughter, but he was not accepted by the painter, by the father of the daughter. Why? Because of his profession, because he was a blacksmith. So to be accepted as a son-in-law, what Quentin did, Quentin painted a beautiful fly on the painter's panel. And when the painter saw the fly on the panel, he tried to swat it away, he tried to crush it away. But soon he realized the truth, that it was only painted, and it was so realistically painted that he couldn't judge. It was the exact copy. And as a result of this, Quentin was taken as an apprentice. Apprentice means as a trainee. And he married his beloved. And he married the daughter of the painter. And finally, Quentin Metzys became one of the famous painters of his age. Such was the reality in his art. Then let's talk about the purpose of art. Purpose of art in Europe is to achieve a perfect illusionistic likeness, the delicate realism, like creating an illusion of being alike. The landscape in a European painting is a copy of the real one. It looks like the real one. It is purely the copy. Then in Asia, if we talk about Asia or Chinese landscapes, the basic purpose is to achieve the essence of inner life and spirit behind the painting. The basic purpose is to achieve the soul of the painting, like going beyond the physical level of the painting. Only the artist knows the way within, and he reaches his goal beyond the material appearance. Only the artist knows the way to the soul of the painting. Let's understand the difference between Chinese and Western landscape or Chinese and Western paintings. Students, this is an important part of the chapter and you all must know it. A Chinese artist does not reproduce an actual view, does not copy the thing. the Chinese artists carry a deeper meaning and significance in their paintings, in their work. On the other hand, a Western artist, a European artist, recreates an actual scene. He copies the real. And Western artists are concerned about the outward appearance. They are not at all concerned about the soul of the painting, the soul of the art. Then second point is, a Chinese painter does not use a single viewpoint. He only creates a path for your eyes to travel up and down. It depends upon the viewer, how he or she sees the painting, how he or she analyzes the painting. Basically, Chinese painting is a path to a higher spiritual plane rather than what is shown on the canvas. It is something much more than what is shown on the panel, on the drawing canvas. On the other hand, Western painter wants you to borrow his eyes and look at a painting exactly the way the artist sees it. There is only a single point in Western paintings. And in Chinese paintings, you can enter from any point. You can see it from your perspective, from your perception. But in Western art, there is a specific point of entry. You need to enter the painting according to the eyes of the painter or the artist. Then, Chinese paintings or landscapes involve active participation of the viewer, both physically and mentally. You have to see the painting at the physical level, but you have to see beyond that level also. You have to try to reach the soul of the painting. On the other hand, no active mental participation of the viewer is required in Western paintings. In Chinese paintings, what happens is, the landscape of the painting, the landscape in the painting reflects the landscape of the soul. But this is not the case in Western paintings. In Western paintings, you actually need to see only the copy of the real thing. How closely it is similar to the real thing. That's it. Then comes the concept of Shanshui. Shanshui is basically a style of traditional Chinese paintings that involves natural landscapes, the landscape which is an inner one, and mostly brush and ink is used. Generally, these landscapes have rivers, mountains, hills, mountain passes, all these things, all these natural landscapes. Now, this concept of Shanshui represents the two complementary poles. One is yin and another is yang, reflecting the Taoist view of the universe. Now, Shanshui, the literal meaning of Shanshui is mountain and water. Mountain is yang and it is masculine, whereas water is yin, which is feminine. Now, mountain is something vertically towards heaven and water is something horizontal. Mountain is stable, it is warm, it is dry in the sun, whereas the yin part, the water part, is resting on earth and it is cool and moist. It is in the fluid form, it is in the liquid form. Of course, it is water, it is in the liquid form. So basically, mountain and water symbolize the two complementary poles of yin and yang. Yin and yang are central to the Taoist view of the universe. Taoism is a philosophy of the universe. And the harmonious interaction between these two energies, these are the two energies of the universe, yin and yang. And the interaction between these two energies is one of the fundamental philosophies of Taoism. And these two words, mountain and water, together represent the word landscape. We can also have a Taoist view in the form of a flow chart. First of all is the Taoist view, then is the concept of Shanshui. Then Shanshui means mountain and water. Mountain is yang, water is yin. Yang is male, yin represents female. And yang is stable, warm and dry, and yin is female, which is fluid, moist and cool. So dear students, we are stopping here. This covers the part 1 of your chapter. And what you have to do is you have to read the chapter till this concept, till the concept of Taoism. And we'll meet soon in the second video. Thank you and have a nice day.